Good evening. Welcome back to Tropical Chatter, your go-to source for online information regarding the 2017 hurricane season. Let's jump right into it as it is September 22nd. This is the evening update. The sun is currently setting on Hurricane Maria. As you can see here, it's a Category 3 storm. Max sustained winds 125 miles per hour as of the 5 p.m. National Hurricane Center update. It is moving north-northwest at 9 miles per hour. This is the current forecast cone from the National Hurricane Center. Brings it north-northwest until it jogs a more northern course. We're going to discuss in this video how I believe it is going to be on the western edge of this cone in this area here, impacting the Virginia, Delaware, Maryland, and North Carolina coastlines. I'm not predicting a hurricane landfall, although it is possible, and I do see this getting closer to the coast than this current cone shows. So I'm going to try to keep this video short. Let's hop right into it. We're going to go back to the visible satellite image. As you can see, the center of the storm is passing pretty much over the National Hurricane Center's forecast track. Its appearance is a little bit better now than it was earlier. There was some southerly and westerly shear affecting the system. It's not affecting it as much now as it is lightening up a bit. These waters over here are pretty warm, so it's not having any problems right now. It's holding steady in the 959 millibar range, which is pretty strong storm. Remember, it was in the low 900s, like 910, 915 millibars before Puerto Rico. So it is much weaker than it was then. But this is still a formidable Category 3 hurricane, which is a very strong storm. So we're going to switch over to the infrared satellite, give you a bit of a different look. The darker the reds and the grays indicate higher cloud tops, stronger storms. So as you see over the past couple hours, the western side of the system has refired storms, as well as the northern side. These grays indicate very, very strong cold cloud tops, and the system's doing pretty well right now. You can see the eye is not cleared out. It's not perfectly circular like it was before. It is kind of ragged actually in the center. But the system's maintaining strength right now. It's been about 957 to 960 millibars for seemingly 24 hours now, a little bit less than 24 hours. But it's holding a general intensity, and it's a Category 3 storm. So I want to show you the wind shear map. It's one of my favorite maps out there. This gives you a great idea of what's impacting the storm. As you can see, you got Maria marked by the hurricane logo. These blue dotted lines indicate weakening shear, and these white lines indicate rising shear. Right now it's in a relatively good environment compared to hours before. I'm going to back this map up a few 3 to 6 hours ago, and you can see how shear was impacting it much greater earlier than it is now. So currently we're looking at maybe the darkest shade of blue and the first shade of green, which is between 10 and 20 knots of shear, which is doable for a well-developed Category 3 storm. If you get into the 25 to 35 knot shear, these yellows and these oranges, it's a kiss of death for these hurricanes. So if I clear this and back it up a few hours, we're going to go back 3 hours first and 3 more hours again here. You can see about 6 hours ago. Let's go back 9 hours. Back it up one more frame. So you can see 9 hours ago, it was in much darker shades of green. That indicates 25 to 30 knots of shear. 6 hours ago, it was in a bit of a worse area. Let's see if I can. There we go. Again, higher shades of green, closer to the yellow. That's almost 30 knots of shear. That's when the core was taking a beating. Now, if I put this a couple hours forward, we are now in current time right now. You can see the blue dashed lines are moving closer to the storm, and also, I hope you notice, the shear is moving in tandem with the system. As the system moves north and west, the heaviest, highest shear numbers are moving north and west with it. These blue dashed lines have came up over the system here, indicating weakening shear, lowering shear over the western side of the storm and northern side of the storm, and that is indicated nicely by the stronger cloud tops forming on the north and western side of the system as the shear relaxed. So that's what's happening right now with the system. I will go back to, this is Jose. Jose After many days as a hurricane, after it was a major hurricane down by the northern Leeward Islands, just missed Bermuda. It has finally had its last advisory issued. So Jose is finally done. No more national hurricane advisories. Tropical storm force winds are no longer reaching the Cape or anywhere in the United States, and the system is dying out. Yes, it's going to be here for another couple days, but it is just spinning itself out. These waters are very cold up here, and it's just going to wind down. Now, the next couple days, does it get kicked out a bit this way? Does it drop down here? Some models have it meandering back towards the coast. And just how long it stays intact. It's still an intact system. There's a nice, spin here. But it's just dying, and National Hurricane Center has decided to end its advisories. So, as long as this storm, lasts, it's going to play a role in the track of Maria. We've been talking about this for days. You have a high pressure to the west and a high pressure over the Atlantic, and Jose is not letting them two bridge. So let's switch over to the GFS model. This is the 18Z run. It's just out within the hour or so. And this shows a pretty good idea of my fears, not my fears, but my concerns for the coastlines of North Carolina, Virginia, and even up to the Delaware, Maryland area. Jersey Shore, you're going to be on the fringe of this, high waves no matter what, rip currents, coastal erosion. But for mostly the Virginia and North Carolina coast, and possibly up to the Maryland, Ocean City area, this highlights my concerns a bit and put this into motion. We're starting right now, and as you can see, let's clear this off. You have high pressure here. It's red on red, kind of hard to see, and high pressure out here. So I'll put this into motion. We're going to go 6 hours at a time. I'm going to get it right up. This is all the same. So you can see Jose is weakening, which allows the two red areas, high pressure area and high pressure area, to bridge the gap. They become, mostly one. You can call them one high pressure. They have bridged the gap, and they have more or less so combined. So we're 36 hours out. You got Maria moving basically due north, and with this you have the ridge over top, which is not going to allow Maria to harmlessly go out to sea. The steering does not indicate that. You have a trough coming back through here, which is eventually going to kick Maria out. But as you can see, the high pressure is blocking it for the time being. So I'll put this into motion a couple more frames. And here we go. We're at the 72 hours out. With this setup here, you got the high pressure built over top, trough coming in, and Maria stuck in between. The only place for Maria to go in this system is to pump the ridge a little bit, pump the high, and move either due north or west of north. And that's what the models have latched onto today. For the past couple days, it didn't really make all that much sense, but they were bringing it out. And quick, small jog to the west, but then kicking it right out to sea. Models have lost that today. And I think this outcome makes a lot more sense. So what we're going to see is high pressure stay intact north and east of the system, which creates a steering flow out of the east or southeast, which means Maria can only go west of north or north. So I'll put this into motion a couple more frames, bring it out to 96 hours. And here we are, 96 hours. High pressure has been eroded to the north. You still have the high. Oops, let me get rid of that. That is a sounding. You still got the high pressure out to the east here over the Atlantic. Again, it's spinning the flow this general direction, which means Maria has to move in that general direction. Trough moving in out here, waiting to kick this out to sea. If this is a little bit faster, it doesn't make it as close to the coast. It's a little bit slower, it makes it closer to the coast. It's very small details that is going to determine the track and the outcome of how close it gets to the Carolina coast and the Virginia coast. But I will put this into motion a couple more frames, and you're going to see the outcome of the 18Z GFS run, which 108 hours out, you still have the flow the same direction. You still got the high pressure to the east, trough moving in from the west, and at 120 hours out, exactly 5 days, It is just southeast of the Outer Banks of North Carolina. Got the Outer Banks marked in red here. You have a 942 millibar hurricane parked just offshore. Strong winds off the, spinning around the hurricane, off the ocean, bringing in, probably a decent surge and a lot of, coastal issues. Rain and tropical storm force winds reaching the coast, possibly hurricane force gusts along the outer islands and Outer Banks. As you can see, the high pressure has been retreating, so it's back here, and you have the trough moving in. A couple more frames, you're going to see just how this is going to be kicked out to sea here. So let me go a couple more frames up. You can see that orange line dropping down. That is the leading edge of what is going to kick this out to sea. As of right now, you still have a flow around the high pressure that is keeping it just tucked towards the North Carolina coast. 132 hours out, it's just scraping the North Carolina Outer Banks. But notice, this is important here. This is dropping down. The orange line is dropping down. And the next frame is going to be influenced by the trough, which is going to start to kick this rather quickly out northeast and out to sea. So let's see how that plays out here. And there it goes. See the orange. The orange of the trough has, I love the way Levi has, broke this down. It makes it very easy for the public to see. Orange was up here. Now it is influencing the hurricane. The trough is influencing the hurricane. And this will, if I go ahead and put another frame or two. Why is it not loading? There we go. Straight northeast out to sea. That is the outcome that is most likely, in my opinion. This hurricane has basically nowhere to go except north and then northwest, get close to the Outer Banks. It could possibly come up, a little bit farther north towards the Virginia coastline. It could come down a little bit farther south, just south of the Outer Banks. It could be, 50 miles offshore, or it could actually make landfall in the Outer Banks. It's all timing right now. How quick does the trough come out and kick it out? If the hurricane is moving a bit faster, obviously it'll beat out the trough a little bit quicker. Could get, to the Outer Banks. If the hurricane's a little bit slower before the kicker comes out and pushes out to sea, you could be talking 100 miles offshore. So it's a delicate situation here. You have a lot of minor details going on, but these are the outcomes that are likely. So GFS brings it up just offshore the Outer Banks and shoots it northeast right out to sea rather quickly. Let me go back to, I had a certain frame I wanted to, there we go, okay. So let's go to the European. European shows similar. It is west of yesterday. And we will see what it's showing right now. So let me go to the European. Here we go. Okay, this is right now 24 hours out. Jose dwindling, as you can see up here, southeast of the Cape. High pressure over the middle of the country. High pressure off in the east to the east in the Atlantic. Couple more frames. We're at 72 hours out. High pressure has built over the system. You got a high pressure up here and high pressure off to its east. Trough coming in, and we will see how the European plays out. So a couple more frames. Now we're at 96 hours out. High is receding a bit. This leaves a path to its north wide open. Not wide open, but generally in northern direction, maybe a bit west of north. And you have the trough moving in. It's going to kick it out to sea. So a couple more frames, and that's as close as the European gets. Albeit this is closer than yesterday and closer than last night. But as you can see, the high pressure is not as strong. If we go to 120 hours on the GFS, let's compare the differences here. So I have to put this to 120 hours. Okay, there it is, 120 hours. So these are lined up. So I'm going to go back and forth. European, GFS. European, GFS. Not too much of a difference. GFS, you can still see higher pressures and a stronger high out in this area here. Now, if I go to the European, that area is not present. It's a little bit weaker. That is 126 hours out. So the ridge is actually pumping. So we're going to go to the European right here. Not there. GFS, it's there. It's just enough to keep it a little bit more west, I believe. There's a couple of other features, including this low pressure up to this north, the trough digging in, but the European is quicker to push this out to sea. So a couple more frames and it just jolts it right out to sea. So there's our two options. I personally believe it's going to be more of a closer to the coast than out to sea. European is obviously what we just saw out to sea, quicker like that. That's the two options here. We still got 5-6 days to monitor this. The differences are rather small, but they do make 100, 150, 200 mile difference on these models. So we'll see how this plays out. And before I go to the Hurricane Hunters aircraft data. They are in Hurricane Maria right now. He's doing one of the oddest flight patterns I've ever seen in my life, but the pressure has remained steady at 959 millibars. Let me refresh this and see if they came in for another pass. Okay, they have. So let me pull this up, and hopefully it stays in the frame here. It has. Good, perfect. It's down to 957 millibars, and it has took a jog, northwest, more northwest than northwest. You can see that's a northwest signature or northwest pad, northwest pad, and that is a pure northwest pad. So it has been stair-stepping all day. It's been, it hasn't been in consistent motion, but it's getting to where it has to go. 957 millibars is down a couple, but it has been fluctuating. So we're going to keep an eye on this, guys. It is likely to impact the coast somehow, some way. More than likely, almost guaranteed, there's going to be high surf, strong rip currents, beach erosion, that kind of stuff. The question is, does the Outer Banks and possibly Virginia coastline get into more, substantial tropical storm force conditions? Heavy rains, high winds, surge. So it's something to keep an eye on, and I will certainly be doing more updates, maybe possibly one later tonight, more likely tomorrow afternoon. Share this video, comment, give me your thoughts, what you think is going to happen. Follow me on Twitter, StormForce_1, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you.